You ever feel like just digging a hole and burying yourself alive? Welcome to the 2 month review where we're talking about The Tunnel by William Gass, in which
In
we take
which
a large book, break it down bit by bit over 2 months, laugh about it, talk about it, try not to get too serious about it because, yeah, this one's tough. I'm Brian Wood, joined by Chad Post and Kaija Stromanis. How are you doing today, Kaija?
uh, other than battling unknown odors from the front closet and feeling very much like I'm in the tunnel with Kohler. I am doing very well, Brian. How are you?
I'm sorry. What is this about your what? I'm not outing you. If you want to stay in the closet, stay in the closet. That's fine. What's going on with your closet here?
I don't think anyone wants to, everyone and everything's out of the closet. Don't,
Okay,
you
that's
shouldn't
fine.
be in the closet at this point. The closet is, bad stuff is happening in the
Did
closet.
something die in the walls or
I don't know.
okay.
Hope not. If anyone has any recommendations of how to figure out without tearing down an entire closet wall, let me know.
Have you looked at the deed history of the home? Were there any people that did clown, dressed up as clowns, did party animal balloons? Is that anywhere in the deed history of this home? Just
You
curious
just,
before you start digging in the crawl space.
you just mean my grandparents.
Okay.
Yep. Well, maybe your
Okay.
grandparents had some hidden
That
secrets. You don't know. You don't
I mean,
know.
there's a lot of space. There's a lot of space, I think, between the back wall of the closet and that wall of the kitchen. So I don't know. Maybe this will be a Christmas adventure. We'll figure it
Well,
out.
this thematically, as we start digging into our pasts, we might dig up some stuff that we don't like to find. How about you, Chad? How are you doing?
I when was working for Delki and lived in Bloomington Normal, I bought my first house, and it was in this place called Stanford, Illinois, outside of Bloomington Normal. So a tiny little like no stoplight, no gas station, just a bar place. And when we went to tour different houses there, because there were ones that we could afford, we were showing one that was the local serial killer that had killed like five or six people and like buried them in the basement. And his house was for sale at that point in
I'm
time.
sorry, the local,
The local serial
just
killer,
not the one from across town. This
no,
is our
not
serial
the one from the
killer.
big city, the local one.
Yeah.
Did
Oh,
he get
wow.
did he get caught because of the smell or just because he was slapdash in his work?
He got caught because he killed a girl. He was killing gay men. Nobody checked at it. Killed a
Nobody
woman.
cared.
Boom, got him immediately. He then in prison became a painter, and everyone in town had one of his paintings and would be like, "That's our local serial killer." That's work. Fucking dark, man. Like it's like the tunnel right there.
Wow. I just
Yeah.
thought of like a very morbid comedy sketch where it's a prison painter and it's like Bob Ross, but he talks about his past as as a reformed killer. And you know what? I'm just gonna put this person right here. I've killed people in trees like this before, but with this one here, what we're doing is just gonna let a little bird live there.
If you
Like that
hang them
would be
by
a
their
really
feet at this first
creepy.
branch and cut this way, the
Yeah,
blood will
I
drain.
I don't like that at all.
Nope. Good times. One of the professors I worked with, one of their students was one of the people that was murdered too. So,
That's awful.
yep.
Well,
Welcome
I
to
mean,
welcome to the 2 month review.
thematically, I can do one quick little anecdote that matches that. When I was in Perrysburg, Ohio, we lived there for a brief spell. There was this cute home that was for sale. No one's buying it. The price keeps going down and down and down, and it's still on the market. And we have like no reason why. And so finally, I was at the bar and I asked one of the prominent real estate agents in town, "Hey, this house up the street, why is that still for sale? It looks amazing." They're like, "Oh, the person that died, they died upstairs." And they didn't find them for like 4 months, and they leaked through the ceiling onto the floor below. And you have to let everybody know about that. And apparently, nobody wants to buy this house now
Oh
because
my God.
of, it's in the walls.
But
That's
at least leaking and staining would be indicative of something dead. I would be grateful for that because then I would have an idea. This is just a smell and I feel fucking crazy.
when I was growing up,
Well,
speaking of tunnels, when I was growing up
yeah,
in our house was an old, very old house. And when it would rain at certain points in time, the ceilings would turn like that reddish brown as if they were
yeah, yeah,
blood,
yeah,
which I
yeah.
freaked the fuck out about when I was a kid so many times that it was like some
The
Stephen
rusty
King
pipes
bullshit
leaking.
coming to get me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as we're all tunneling here, so we have a section that we're going to cover today called "Today I Began to Dig."
Yep.
Pages in my copy, it's 146 to 214.
Same.
Should be the same for all of yours. Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
So all of this metaphorical stuff starts to kind of become action,
Mhm.
maybe, maybe.
I had a little bit. So yeah. I don't know. You want to recap it, but I mean the main. I think there are two main things in this. Three, maybe three. One is Kohler starts to dig a tunnel, like in his basement.
Actually dig a tunnel, like with a trowel or something. Like,
Yeah, and he's going to get more
okay.
equipment behind the furnace, which I have a question. I mean, some of the geography on I'm a little fuzzy on.
Quick
This,
question though,
yeah.
as you were reading that first part where he's beginning to dig, were you whistling that Great Escape song in your head
I was,
as
whistle
he's
while you work. That's what I was going to say. I was
no,
thinking of dwarfs the
I'm
whole
I'm not
time.
good at whistling, but the melody, it's from the movie The Great Escape where Charles Bronson and Steve McQueen and et al. They dig a tunnel to escape Nazi Germany prisoner of war camp, and it's that song doot 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 boom boom boom. We're escaping the terrible Nazis. Like it's like really cute little. I was humming that in my head as I'm reading this like lascivious graphic,
Oh my God.
the head of my cock buried between her breasts. Doot 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 doot. She's
A
just down
different
there
type of
digging.
tunneling, yeah.
Tunnel, tunnel,
Yeah,
tunnel. Dig, dig,
I
dig.
will say, I read the first few lines as if our current sitting president was reading them or saying them because it is that like, I'm enormously excited. I can't do the voice, Brian.
Oh,
Can.
JD Vance.
Enormously today I began to dig, took my first bite of the earth, put in my first pick. Astonishing. Like, what the fuck does that mean? We're talking about anything that I have actually begun. Hard to believe. A beginning with that first blow. What elation I felt. Feel. I am light. I float although there is no wind. That's just Trumpism right there.
That's like the vice president testing out couches at Furniture City.
Another type of tunneling.
Zing.
I
Absolutely.
like it. I like it.
Very, very true. Yeah, so he's digging. There's a bit we'll come back to the digging in a second. The other two things were one, Lou breaks or not the second one, Lou breaks up with him. And he recounts that a bunch of times in like various iterations of it. And then the third would be the school stuff where he talks about conflict and the stages of conflict. And then also Culp, his colleague who does all the limericks. And Culp is just sort of in there. I don't know if it's a separate thread to tease out because he keeps showing up, along with references to like a student who's doing our thesis on a name I don't want to pronounce, an Italian guy who I meant to look up and did not, that the fascist, to get an idea of like why there's so much weirdness around that. Someone else hopefully did that research because I forgot. But those are the three parts that I think stand up in here. I don't know if anyone had anything else plot wise. I'm gonna take that as a
No,
no.
no,
Nope.
I think that nails it. But I really like what Kai is bringing up, like like jokingly, but also seriously. Like there's a real big tonal shift with the voice of the character when we get into this section that I was really surprised by.
In the digging specifically, or like,
Yeah, just like how it
yeah.
starts, like right off the bat.
Because later on, it sort of goes back to I think what it was, but I may be wrong.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit more. The beginnings of each one of these chapters are always like really a lot. Like they're very much like the invocation one made sense because it was like invoking all of the quote unquote muses, although in his case they're all like loserdom, failure, whatever, that kind of stuff. But they all kind of start so bombastically and then become more like honed in, it seems, which reminds me because I'm reading editing Mantra by Rodrigo Frazan, and Frazan does that a lot. Like the beginnings of his sections of his parts are always like, where am I? This is like over the top, huge, abstract, and then it becomes more centralized. But for the shift in tone, yeah, what do you make of that, Brian? Or what did you see as the shift in the tone and like how it's articulated?
Well, just like with the way Kai was reading it, there's like this, it feels bizarre and over the top with how excited this person is to start digging. And to me, like what I paired it with was so far everything has been like a thought exercise,
Hmm.
Mm.
right? I've got this big book done. I just got to get this intro finished. I crank that out. I'm gonna be done. It's gonna be great. And then like there's like this metaphorically digging up the past, trying to collate it, make sense of it. Ooh, I want to hide all this. I don't want people to see this. And then now, but it's all while sitting in a chair, right? The
Yeah,
man in the
yeah,
chair.
yeah. Life in a chair, which
And
is too
so,
much.
so this one is like we've lived, and the week before, like we have lived our lives the wrong way,
Hmm.
right? It's the unexamined life is not worth living, or whatever. Like all those little quotes you want to put on your wall. Great, but you're still just sitting in a chair talking about it. And like now we finally have what we think is physical action, movement, doing something. And like there's this like manic joy that comes out of getting your ass out of a chair and doing something,
Here's
is my
the
guess.
And then I was gonna say, and the thing is becoming a worm.
Yeah,
As he says, he's like,
burying
oh
yourself
yeah,
alive.
oh yes, becoming a worm. And this worm turns. Oh goody, oh goody, oh goody.
there I was thinking of it as like a couple of things. Like one, like the digging, like digging your way out. Like if you're in the shit and you got to dig your way out. So like, hey, we haven't had one this season. Like in Twin Peaks, like in Twin Peaks: The Return, when they have the golden shovel and you're like, everything is shit. You got to dig your way out of the shit. Like he's gonna dig his way out. But also like the tunnel is a canal, and like there is a version of like reading this book here where I think you could say like maybe this is all setting it up for him to dig his way out and be reborn. Like if you're also like you come out of the tunnel, out of the
Yeah.
birth canal, you are a new person. That this is he's finished his guilt in a sense. He's thought about it. He needs to write his intro, and he's going to like dig his way out of this whole fucking mess and be reborn as a new person. And like that could be like the quasi hope that a reader could hold on to of like I'm going through all this like Nazi shit and like fascist, in like inclinations because at the end my guy's gonna come to his senses. He's gonna wake up. It's sort of like the like we listen to Knowledge Fight a lot, and there's a bit on Knowledge Fight where like the guy from the Proud Boys is like, I've talked to Nick Fuentes. He'll come around. He'll stop being like a Jew hater at some point. He's gonna get better. That idea that there is like a rebirth or like a change. I feel like the tunnel could kind of one of a representation could be that, or one metaphor could be that. So why not be joyous? You're gonna be joyous that you're finally getting out. You're digging your way out.
Yeah.
Also, though, like with how like overtly like phallic and masculine the voices and the imagery is with this, you could also take it as a tunnel being a way in,
It is both,
as in
right?
like penetration, right?
Yeah, it is and it's also a space that's
Metaphorically.
also enclosed. So it's like got
Yeah.
all those paradoxes. They're
Hmm.
related to that. That's one of the dirtier lines that I have marked in here that I flipped to. Where he's talking about like what's going on. He's like, a cause, I need my exercise. A reason, everyone ought to have a hobby, a vagina to China. It's like, yeah, okay, man.
There you go. Yeah,
That's
Yeah, like
why. Why
exactly.
not?
digging a tunnel to China. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you had that birth
Kids like to
metaphor.
dig.
I also see it as kind of like I was kind of happy for him where he's like, oh, I finished this book. Like Brian said, just have to finish my introduction. I'm like, great, congrats. And he's gonna go fucking dig. Like as a serial procrastinator, that's super relatable. Where you're like, I have one final part left, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out what this fucking smell in the closet is instead of doing the thing, instead of just putting a full stop at the end of this project. I'm like, I've got time. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
Yep.
interesting
Yep.
like
Yep.
when you start thinking about those different like we can each look at it a different way, and I think it works with each way. It
Yeah.
feels very engineered and purposeful in each one of those ways as well, which makes it, I can see why this is, such a highly regarded master work. And especially when you start thinking about guilt and innocence, this idea of one, discovery, but also escape, wanting to hide, a way in, a way out,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Uh, I want to be new. I want to be buried. Like it's all there,
And
and
it
it
does
all
have both
works.
of those things of like uncovering and,
Hmm.
hiding. Because this right after that part about the vagina to China is this, it's like, this is, how does it begin? I mean, the sentence rambles on, but that space under the sun porch where I keep my trunk of German memorabilia. Nothing much, a flag, insignia, armbands, pair of boots, few hats, photos, letters from Magnus Tabor, etc. One warning proclamation and so on, a flask for schnapps, a collection which Martha has forbidden to rise above the level of the cellar. Although no stake's been driven through these souvenirs to guarantee their death, so there's really nothing to prevent a little silver braid from winking in the dim light, or those black boots, naturally blacker in the black of night, from prowling the house, or some of that anti-Semitic porno stuff reading aloud to itself in the soft glow guttural voice until the swagger stick nearby gets stiff. Like there's hiding his Nazi memorabilia, and being like, the tunnel's a little different than that. It's not like where I'm hiding my, Nazi shit, which all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, you've got a
No, this
lot of
this
Nazi.
dude, like, yeah, like to make it modern, like this dude's on the Epstein list, but I'm not like that bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't like that bad. But like, no, like you are culpable. You are part of it,
so you
right?
want to talk about Culp?
We don't have to
Well,
yet, but
I mean, we could walk through it, but he digs his tunnel. The geography of it that I always get confused on or like think about is like you keep saying he's like behind the furnace. I have like no good visuals for a basement in which you're like digging out of that's not just like absolutely destructive and like the whole house is going to collapse around you. But I don't understand buildings. I don't understand what furnace is necessarily like in terms of its shape or space within there. But I can envision like kind of like a coal, like where they dump coal down, like those chutes that used to exist in houses down to the basement for like the furnace, like being able to go through there and wind your way out of the neighborhood. But he does talk a lot about like, I'll need new, I'll need an axe. I'll need a this. I'll need to be able to put up wood so it doesn't collapse on me and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, reiterating again, what you brought up before, Brian, that he's super big. Like he's a big dude, and getting into like a little tunnel in a basement that you're digging seems both like unrealistic or like an enormous amount of work to dig out something big enough for the person I'm envisioning to like actually get into. Which goes back to like, is he digging a tunnel? Gas is like he may not be doing that at all in his like preface for it, but it's all going to be taken at face value throughout the rest of the book, I think.
well, there's two lines that I thought were really interesting with this Constantine, right? Because as we're saying, like, is it is it escape or is it like enclosure, right? Today I began to dig. I have put my hands to the earth, and the earth has taken hold of me. All right, so okay, we can look at it those two ways. And then a little bit later, it wasn't escape I want, it's enclosure. I want to be inside the wall, in the dirt, in the dark, to make my own grave before someone else does.
a lot of
Yeah.
like self-contradiction, or not self-contradiction, but um and that sounds kind of like on page 149, the line that I had marked, where I guess he's imagining like what would happen if Martha were to walk in on him doing this.
Mm.
And she says, "What in the world are you doing back there, Coley?" She inquires. And what do I intone in my turn? "Well, Marty, you see here a historian hunting for a false cause, for a reason why I'm here, which will not be the reason why I'm here." Just like that constant juxtaposition of things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Is,
Yeah.
is this is all happening while he has these reveries of memory, and they don't seem to be
Yeah.
very happy.
No, he
Ooh,
likes to dwell in
Marty
the
Kohler.
failures.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
shame,
Well,
and
which is the section, if we jump forward to the section of Lou, that's all it is. Or not, I mean, it's a lot of shame. It's a lot of self-shame and imagining a potential meeting that may or may not have happened and probably didn't happen. But like in none of the scenarios that he plays out of their sort of final meeting, like I guess my reading was that he never got an official breakup meeting or encounter with her, but the thing with the cafe was all imagined, like what if they had had a final encounter, what it would have been. But in none of those situations, to Brian's point, in none of those situations is it like a happy, or I mean it's always dismal. It's always just broken.
I mean, writ large, like part of the book's premise. I mean, this guy is fucking miserable. And he'd be the sort of person that nobody would want to date. Like I feel some affinities with him in this way of like remembering and dwelling on your own failures and like things don't work out and shit just is like always going wrong and you pay attention too much to a degree that's like bothers people to like how things just keep falling down and not working and that's super annoying to like most other people. And like part of the setup on this is then like, what do you do? How do you deal with that? And like, do you create then like a party, a way of like, these are the people that we deserve good shit now. We've been downtrodden, we've been put upon, our shit never works out, things are always bad for us. We deserve our time. And how are we going to get it? And that is part of like why this book is so disturbing in 2025 is that is the Charlie Kirk setup of all of this, right? Like that is the Trumpian MAGA shit of like we haven't been allowed to say like whatever words we want to say about whomever. We've been held down by DEI. We've been screwed by this, by that, by these stupid socialist, liberal, whatevers. And now we're gonna rise up and take our moment. And he like in your
You know what
when you
might be
say
even the better,
yeah.
what might even be the better example of that that's happening right now, in a much smaller extent. Because I like that, with Kohler as a writer and linking these things to the creative act and the loneliness of the chair and what you're doing in that creative act. And I think a really interesting parallel is this thing that's happening in Texas, the comedy mothership, that Joe Rogan comedy place that they have.
Oh.
And the whole point of it is we need to be free to like we we are the parakeets in the coal mine, right? And when they come, the world is falling apart. And it's like, I'm going to make my own comedy store. I'm going to have Navy SEALs guarding it, and we'll shoot you in the freaking face if you like. And like, so they come into this comedy store, and what do they do with all this freedom they have? They do trans jokes. They use the R word. They use the N word. And it's just like, ugh. Like, okay, you have free reign, do whatever you want. And it's just gross to be gross. Like it's not edgy, it's not pushing the envelope. It's doing all it is just, oh, you're those mean people, and you always were, and now right? Like,
And
You
that's
just
sort of
call
like
it comedy. Put a genre
yeah.
on it.
yeah,
It used to just be
I've got to,
jokes. Now
I've
it's
got to, no, but I've got
thing.
to be free to explore that part because that's part of who we are. It's like, sure, I agree, and I don't want to censor anybody, but if that's all you're doing,
E-
why?
That's why you turn to limericks, because limericks are just jokes. They're meant to be crude and offensive.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like the limericks are like a steam release in some sense in this book of like
Revolution.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do love the section in here. I'll find it later if we need to. But the part where Culp is describing the limericks as like this beautiful form and like how you have to set it up and that it's like corseted because of the structure and like this doesn't make as much. You would never begin this way because it would have to rhyme with this and that's terrible. And I thought that was wonderful. It was like it's like yeah, there's a lot of it's like telling a good joke. You have the beats. We all know the beats. We all know the structures, but like you have to do it in a certain way, otherwise it just won't be funny. With
Yeah.
Yeah.
those things, not to get too far off rails with that, but part of the whole like, oh, we'll be able to say what we want thing is like premises this situation where it's like you're not allowed to say that. There's always this like on college campuses, there's no debate. Like you're not allowed to say any of this stuff, blah blah blah. And I think in part, if that were true, there would be a lot more like public acknowledgement of that. Like we would know of events in which people were like had shit thrown at them or like were booed off the stage, and there's just not a lot of that. But these people are also like pure libertarians. And the response to like, yeah, you can say anything you want. Nobody's stopping you from saying it. They just might not pay for it. They might not support you. Like a huge number of people won't support you, but isn't that what you want anyways? Is this free market where like everything's, decided by non-regulations? So like you want it both ways, like always, and you guys can all go fuck.
Yes. Like a tunnel. I want it both ways.
Want it both ways. Want it
I want to
coming and going.
escape and I want to
I want to
hide.
be
Yeah.
inside and I want to be out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the implication, or not the implication, but I guess like the implied definition of a tunnel is that there are two openings.
Mhm.
One's an entrance, one's an exit, or both entrances, or they're both exits. I don't know.
And
Like a
you
worm.
think about it, what is a failed tunnel? It's just a hole.
It's just a
Yeah.
hole. It's just a
Right?
cave.
What are you doing?
You're
You're in a hole. It's gonna be a tunnel. Just wait. Can you just
Just
wait
wait.
once I finish?
It's a
That's
cave
the
if it's
hope.
going
Let me
horizontal and a
finish.
hole if you go down.
Let me finish. Which, now that I've said it out loud, the human body is just a tunnel.
I was to say a worm is a tunnel. It's eating the dirt as it passes through it. So it's like an
Yeah,
ultimate tunnel
inside out tunnel. Ew.
inside out. There's no head. It's just a worm. It's,
Two heads, is it two butts? We don't know. Science is still out on it.
well, apparently we still don't know how magnets work. I learned that yesterday from Trump. So,
I mean,
whatever.
we've known that since ICP. We don't need the
Yeah.
president
Why
to.
did why, when did ICP enter our general chat again? Like we didn't, we already went through
Right
this
now. Right now.
right now.
Just wait
Uh,
till Trump sees a double rainbow. It's gonna
oh my
just.
God.
So in
Oh,
particular though, with this
man.
section, it seems like there is a lot of, for the lack of a better term, like would you call it domestic hatred?
Fuck, dude. So I was thinking about that in relation to like what we
Like with
said last week
Martha
with
and his,
history.
yeah.
Yeah, and that there's like the little h history of like the individual history, and then he's using that as a metaphor as like a way of explaining how greater history happens. Like his stages of conflict are like that running in parallel between like World War II conflict that leads to all the Asian wars, I think is how he refers to it, as like Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and everyone's complaining and protesting about Vietnam. And he's like, this isn't like a new thing. This is like the fifth war of the same bit. And here's how we got there. And he's like, start saying like, oh, there's the moments of like aggression where you're like insulting each other, and then it's like when I'm telling Martha she sucks and she's like a cow and all this, then it leads to this version of the fight where you're both like, fuck you, no, fuck you, and it's like using that like individual marital, like confrontation and fights to then be like, that's also how like history happens, which is kind of wild. In a way when you think about it, like, but then you see Trump and you're like, yeah, I guess that's true. Like we're just all of a sudden at war with Venezuela because this guy's a dick. Like that's possible. Like, anything can happen now,
And nobody ever learns.
and nobody ever learns. Nobody pays any attention.
Another sketch is imagine somebody like talking about their absolute valid PTSD from being deployed overseas. All right. And the person sitting next to us was like, yeah, that's like me and Martha had this fight last night. Like, no, no, no. I'm telling you about when we were overrun. I watched my brothers in arms get shot in the face and I had to hide under a pile of dead body. Well, you should have seen Martha when I didn't get the laundry done right. I mean, boy, you want to talk about hell warmed over.
I broke a glass and she went fucking crazy. Blood
You're like,
everywhere.
I don't think these are the same things, but let's just go with, yeah, we're kindred.
Yeah.
It's all the
It's
same.
it's all the same.
One conflict is the same as another conflict. Why not? It is.
Martha, VC, they're the same.
So we kind of jumped ahead to that part. But maybe that's actually, I mean there's so much good stuff with that, with that. There's a line right here that I just flipped open to. The third stage, because it keeps interjecting the quarrel, the quarrel, the quarrel. And referring to it as a quarrel feels so diminishing. Like that it's just like, oh, it's just a quarrel. Like they had a little row or whatever. But like we're talking about like fucking Vietnam. But even like his arguments with Martha are way beyond that. So the third stage might be called the quarrel proper. Although quarrels are by nature repetitive and recursive. Early injuries are reinflicted. Earlier remarks are returned to center stage. Bite after bite is taken from the same piece of already rent flesh, which refers back to what you were saying, Kaija, of like it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And it does just keep happening and happening and happening. Nothing's changing at all, which makes me suspicious of
Our
like the tunnel
marriage
as a
is
way out.
like
Yeah.
our marriage is like a meal that has gone on too long, where every dish tastes like ash. Or it tastes like ashes.
Ugh.
Jeez.
Yeah, not so great.
I married her because she was there, because she was willing, because I thought I should. There's no better reason and none worse.
Such a bleak book, but also super funny in that way. Like as long as you're cool with laughing at this stuff, I think that's the way to get through it. But
But again, there's like you said, like lowercase h, uppercase h. Like this is the politics of domestic life
yeah,
that you've got to navigate, that you're trying to negotiate, that you're right. Like
Does he, I don't remember. Does Kohler talk about specifically the difference between like the big H and little h history?
well,
Or is that just something? Because he does talk about like evil with a capital E and then says something like they small eat it.
I've
Like
got that right here
EVA.
actually.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
yeah, because I feel like it hints at like it starts with the small and it starts at home, and that's
Mm.
the spark that can grow into like sweeping a nation.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump doesn't get to do what he wants to do. He's got to take it out on someone. He's fucking Satan. Um, using a South Park line. Yeah, that part I had it open for a second here. Oh, here it is. I think this is what you're talking about, Kaya, where he says, "Sure, sure. It's too simple to say that in our hearts only evil is real, capital E. But in fact, the good, capital G, well, but there is no big G. There are only just dinky ones. And even they are fragile, intermittent, short lived little pleasures, pulling on your prick things, ambiguous, often costly in the long run, sometimes painful, embarrassing even, while wickedness prospers with the weed's ease. Rats are doing fine, flies ditto, pigeons, starlings, sparrows. They know how to eat off the streets and soil cement and live in your walls. Like that concept of like there is great evil, but the good there's no great good is also like one of those philosophical parts of this related to Kohler's mindset of there being like there's not really a redemptive goodness in the world. Everything that evil is there is part of your life. These little things are just temporary.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the history, last week there's those bits that were like the interstitial sections that were like conversations among the colleagues or among the academics where they were like, well, history is like a self-awareness of bringing itself into consciousness. And like there's some of that started to feel like it was, what is history? What does history mean? Both as a professor and as like something that you're studying. And then this is the one that brings it back down to like, you can't talk about history in the abstract without talking about the individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because the more like this section really made me think that Kohler he he identifies with the fascists that he studied, not because he believes in them or not because he thinks he's part of that, but because he can see it in himself in his domestic life and where he grew up.
And
And to have that, like, that's freaky.
we talked about on that first episode that all of us
Yeah.
have like the little bit of this in our hearts, but like you can see it so obviously with
Hmm.
people that like if they were put into a place of power and those things that are inside them just played out on a bigger stage, they would be fucking war criminals.
Yeah.
But they're not in that position. Instead, they're taking it out on whomever's around them in various ways, generally against women, against people who seemed othered, like be it like minorities or trans or whatever. They're against all of that and taking it out there. And thank God they're not like totally in power, but he does identify it. And I mean, like Kohler doesn't seem, I mean, he's clearly like out of his mind and like, imagining a lot of this stuff and like is bigger than life. At the same time,
Yeah.
does not seem that far out of the ordinary.
Hmm.
No. And so that said, do you guys think Culp is supposed to be representative of like like a woke like a satirical liberal woke guy, like writing his limericks and leading his like not Eagle Scouts, but his like, let's bring the I don't know, like the stupid shit like let's put the Sioux back in soup or something like
Let's
that.
put
Like
the
things where it's like kind of
Indian back in Indiana.
yes, that's what it was. Yes,
I
sorry.
would not wait for Brian to reply to that line. That was one of my favorites.
I think it's wonderful. I love it.
It's really true. As a representative of Native Americans on this podcast, you got to speak to
Yes, I
that one.
represented all of them clearly.
All of them, all tribes. You might,
All of them.
the woke thing. I think you're kind of right in terms of like him being like let's learn from this and let's what does his pin say? He has a pin that he wears too. That's like some of this dumb bullshit like sloganeering.
Yeah.
And then Kohler does go into like what's an aphorism versus a slogan, and then like takes a shit on everyone over and over again in his students, which I do kind of love. Like I've got great students right now. I have no objections and would never say any of this stuff, but I do love that where he's like making fun of them. He's like, for the future, you lack every preparation. You say you oppose the military industrial complex, and yet you haven't tipped over one lonely phone booth. Do you realize that what the age of the mass man means? Mass man means mass management. Are you ready for that? For Führership by committee? Like he's just kind of like dissing on their like protest and their like ineffectiveness and everything. And that one I was like, I
Well,
get that too.
well, they're like he's a different part of Kohler, right?
Culp is?
Because I
Culp,
feel like
going back to Culp, yeah.
Kohler, yeah, sorry, Kohler, I feel like he's looking at history with like this almost like disgust and resentment and shame. Whereas Culp is just like it's a farce,
Mm.
right? He takes this like moral horror and just makes it a spectacle and looks at the irony of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something Kohler doesn't have access to.
I
Maybe
imagine
he wants it, but like that's not, that's not how he views it. That's not how he teaches it. That's not how I think what it does is it shows like two sides of looking at the issue.
I was
Yeah.
seeing Culp as kind of like a Greenpeace guy who's like, we learn from
Mm.
history and we can correct it by like paying attention, like learning our Boy Scout stuff, by like paying attention to the plight of the Indians, by doing blank, blank, blank. Like I learned from
Optimistic,
history.
pessimistic, dour, funny, like yeah, yeah.
And one of the theories that was brought up earlier, I forget where if Ted brought this up maybe, but is that all the colleagues aren't real, that they're just
Mm.
aspects of Kohler's persona and his relationship to things. And you had mentioned, Brian, before we get on here, of like Culp being kind of a doppelganger and like sort of what you're saying now of like he's kind of the opposite, but is connected in that way and does seem like a reflection, which I was thinking about when you brought that up in relation to like when the Lou part, be it real or be it not, and he's getting dumped for his mind being shitty and she needs to move to a new neighborhood and he's always been like this and like going back to like that sort of pessimism that nobody wants to be around sort of vibe. The Culp keeps popping up in there to the point where I was like, is Culp fucking Lou? Like is Culp like is this gonna like lead to like, oh, she dumps him and then she's like hooking up with him. And there's even the part later on where he's in Culp's office and there's like a letter written and there's a cursive and it's an L. And I was like, is this going to be like a love letter from her? Like, what's happening here? Because
Mm.
it started to feel like that, almost like what you're saying of the doppelganger, but the doppelganger in terms of like replacing him within her like sphere of sexual interest.
She's moving on to
Moving on to
This
limericks.
might be like a sophomore essay kind of take, but it's hard not to link Culp to like with it being with Kohler's the title of his book, it's hard not to take Culp and think of culpa, right? With fault or negligence or guilt.
yeah.
Culpability.
And so
And
then
that is
These
it makes
things.
you wonder if you're the type of person that looks at the atrocities of history and approaches it the way Culp does,
You're woke. You are,
right?
yeah.
What like it's the whole thing of like, silence is violence, right? That kind of thing.
And yeah, the acknowledgement of all the bad that has happened as
Hmm.
part of the structure that you're part of.
Well,
Like
when you
what?
just
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say when you just said that of like the mea culpa, like there is a section. I think it's when is it Martha implies something or like someone starts to say that or something about him being wrong, and he like says he's just like mea like just says it already.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
that is in there.
My bad. That's like the
Yeah,
smart way of saying
exactly.
my bad.
You know, and
Absolutely.
I'm trying to find it now. I know it's in there, but
Next
yeah.
time I'm playing soccer or intramural soccer, I'm just gonna go mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa.
Oh God.
He's a striker for Manchester United. He's really good.
When he's talking about the students too, I did think it was funny that he's like attracted to the Carol Adams Spindley, and then with like the rule of threes brings up that name like a joke where it comes up as like, oh, what sort of name is Carol Adams Spindley? Then it's like that Carol whatever whatever bit. Like I like the way that this book is so clearly like thought through over and over again. Everything is in its right space. I mean, take 30 years to write it, you're gonna get to that point, but like even like these little things that you can pick up on are all right there, like over and over again. And, and they're where they're supposed to
It's
be.
this second.
Exploring oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking, exploring that idea of are these people even real? As this person is manically digging in his basement, sitting in a chair, hiding stuff in the leaf of his manuscript. Maybe he's not, playing with a full deck here. Um, but the way Gas blurs the line with these characters, there's a line like this, right? Culp would call it irony with that glint in his little eye. But what was it really? Cowardice with a smile? It's like it's very personal. It's a little bit defensive, and it's
Yeah.
almost as if he's condemning aspects of himself, right?
Yeah.
And not so much Culp. And so it's like like when something bounces off a Culp, it mirrors parts of himself. He's starting to mirror parts of himself, and so it makes me wonder, like, are these just manifestations of the inner self, like parts of you?
Mhm.
I finished the Rilke book. I hadn't thought of this, and I wish I had the. It's somewhere out of reach, but I finished his reading Rilke book this on the plane because I was trapped in airports for a couple days, and there's a bit where he talks a little bit about Kant and Kantian categories and how like. I believe that if I remember right, that he's saying like Rilke also kind of figured this out, but didn't need Kant. Like he had a different way of approaching it. That like nothing can be seen except through your lenses, like your senses. Like you can only see certain, bandwidths. So that's what we see. You can only hear certain things. That's what we hear. And then you can have ideas of thought. Like I can only think in there's certain restrictions. And in a sense, this book is that. Like it is everything's within him. We are only seeing the world through him, and he's only seeing the world through his own eyes and through his own sense of self. So similar to what you're saying, like where he's seeing parts of himself reflected back. It's not even that they have to be imaginary. That's kind of how we all function, right? You see what you want to see.
Knowable and unknowable.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can't know what you don't know. You can't,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't know what you don't know.
Well, it's interesting because I was talking about masks and Jung, and then yeah, Kant and Jung, I think share some of those same ideas.
Jung has all the different what we call archetypes too, which yeah, you're stuck
Yeah.
within one of those archetypes. Or you have multiple, whatever. I don't know. I shouldn't speak to Jungian things. It's been a million years. So I've really read anything like that, but I know that it's pretty popular right now in
Um,
mostly cults, but
I'm
uh,
just I'm thinking more on if Culp is a part of Kohler. I mean, he doesn't, again, 177, he doesn't seem to particularly care for if it is another part of him or an aspect of his personality. He doesn't seem to like it very much. He really makes fun of it or trivializes everything. And I think what Brian said, like that Culp is just sort of a fucking joke. Um, and like he says, like, geez, Culp, those infantile puns of yours, those childish quips, your adolescent verses, there's nothing natural about them, nothing savage. They're total contrivances, complete artificialities, they're cuckoo clocks. And then he's just like, it's embroidered turds. Like it's just, which
That's a
makes me
fantastic
almost,
line.
yeah, I don't know. This is maybe an odd question, but do you guys hope that Culp that Culp is an aspect of Kohler's personality, or would you rather hope that Culp is an actual person? And I guess the same goes for the other colleagues.
I don't know that I have a dog in either fight. I
Mm.
think
This
that I
early
want
on,
more limericks.
I'm team like conglomerate. I think that these are like manifestations like put together in your psyche to like figure something out.
Hmm.
Um,
I think, yeah, I think I bristle at any time it's like it was all a dream, or like the Jacob's
yeah.
ladder of things like that, like so like frustrating that it has to be like philosophically, you know, like shored up in some way, or
All
like
right.
work
Have
with me.
you ever done this? You get in an argument with somebody and you're driving home and you've got a drive home and in your head you're replaying the argument in your head. Like I said this, they said this, I said this, they said this, and you're like, oh shit, I should have said that right here. Oh my gosh, checkmate. But then they probably would have said this back and then now we're really fighting and I probably would have. And so like you manifest this like argument that actually didn't happen. Like, yes, it did happen, but not like the way you're building in your head now. And if you kick that around your head long enough, that memory starts becoming a reality of when someone asks, well, I told them this. It's like, no, you
Oh, yeah.
didn't. You thought that on the drive home because that would have been awesome. And what is fiction? I know he's not writing fiction, Kohler isn't, but fiction is that argument that you play in your head on the drive home when you get all the good things and like the zingers right. That's what ends up making it on the page. And that's what makes fiction so amazing because you get to take all the boring crap out and like just make it like home run, double play, amazing. Like it is like the highlights of what the 9 hour baseball game. And like I feel like this dude in the basement, I think Gas is writing him in a way where it's just like he's like exploding things into what's actually not reality and it's blurred and we're not sure. It's really unreliable, but definitely engineered that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's related to what you just said. It's on 201, but no quarrel concludes until it is clear that the quarrel will be remembered more vividly than its causes. It's very much
Yep.
that. Yep,
Yep.
it's definitely there. Yeah, it's interesting too because Kohler does have the perspective. Although I'm trying to think if I think I'm wrong about this, but I can't think around it. Is that he's got that sort of same perspective that's in Imaginative Qualities of Actual Things by Sorrentino, in which if you hate everything, you're kind of you're good. You can't be attacked because you hate everything. You make fun of everything. You mock everything. Everyone sucks. Everything sucks. It's like
Well, that's the plot of Pluribus. Have you watched Pluribus?
not yet. Don't spoil it. On my list. I've been watching Lowdown, which is fun. Oh, the task is better. Um, but yeah, I need to see that. Don't say any more about it. But
I
yeah,
won't.
that
Sorry.
that that kind of spinning, like you're in an axis, like you can't really attack me because I already, have everything. And even so far as like, I don't know about the Hitler parts. That's the part that I'm like, does he believe in these things? Does he have a set of beliefs aside from like negations? Like everything that doesn't work out or doesn't happen becomes a thing that he's most concerned with, which is different than having a positivist, like, here's a thing that I believe in, put forth into the world. Unless the
Mm.
guilt and innocence is like, that attempt, but he's still not putting that into the world. He's kind of hiding it.
Hiding his thoughts or opinions on
It-
Hitler and
well,
Nazi Germany.
well, yeah, we never see the book. But
No.
he also is not finished with it. He's never going to finish it because he's going to dig a fucking tunnel instead of
Got that
writing
tunnel
his
to dig
thing.
first.
Yeah, it's like not happening. But like putting something
Yeah.
into the world that's like a statement is worse, especially if that statement is basically like, the trains ran on time.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
kind of far afield here. One thing I was waiting when you were bringing up Culp to take a shit on Boy Scouts.
There it is.
Because there's a line right there, but boy,
Yep.
do I hate the Boy Scouts, which is, I
And
know, one of your pet peeves of the moment.
I was gonna ask what the Boy Scouts did to you, like, but then I realized that's a different conversation we'll have to have at some point.
well,
That's a,
charge
that's
us
a,
twenty bucks for a bag of fucking kettle corn is what they did. And no prices, anything. You just walk up and they're like, this adorable little boy is like, would you like to support my troop? And like Alex wanted to do it. He's the same age. I was like, of course, let's do it. And so I was like, we'll take a bag of popcorn, expecting like, $6. Or the guy goes, $20. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, you know how
Fascist.
expensive some of those
Stupid.
law you know how expensive
Just
those lawsuits are? The Boy Scouts need to
they
I
got
mean,
a lot.
seriously,
They got a
for
lot of
real.
things to settle from their past. A lot of culpability in that Boy Scouts.
it's like the Catholic Church, man. That's why they have so much
Yeah,
property and money, man. You gotta you gotta settle all that stuff out of court. You know how expensive that gets?
I
there's a
once
lot of
bought some
lawyers.
corn from a scout.
That's why it's okay to buy Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
Like this is fine. This money is going to a good cause. I really love 202. This is one of my it's not my line of the week, but it was one of my favorite bits. It says Herschel, I think, is a kind of cruel copy editor, and I, alas, am often his hapless text. He replaces every which with that, and every that with which. He prefers commas to semicolons because commas are more non-committal, comforting, egalitarian, and because he cannot be happy and still stay in harmony with the way I breathe. He faults my parallels. He snips off anything that dangles. He hates my elisions, my transpositions, my sloppy use of you and one. It's like, yes, I love all of that. But feel it on both sides.
Oh my God.
Editing and being edited.
Yep.
Good stuff. With the
Yeah.
yeah,
From the writer's perspective, it feels like you're kind of getting tunneled.
I think getting tunneled can be a new phrase that we can
Yeah.
use in
Get
shorthand in group
tunneled.
text. Get tunneled.
So I looked at that first draft. Yeah, we're gonna have to tunnel that.
Tunnel right through there.
Yeah, what is it? What is that? There's the question of the week, perhaps. What does it mean to you to tunnel something, or what what would that saying mean? What's your definition?
Of getting tunneled.
Or to tunnel something.
That's very different from getting bored. Um,
Oh man. I don't know. I would think, yeah, driving a hole right through it, digging right through that crap to unearth stuff or to hide in it. You could make it very dirty.
it's an interesting word because it can have like the connotations can be very different. Because if it's about escape, it's one
Mhm.
thing. It can be about like sapping and trying to like ambush someone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or it could just be, effective means of transportation. So I don't know. It's yeah.
Mhm.
I think on 179 too to change this into a light part where he says they're talking about the sack that Culp carries. It says it's in on one side and the bag on the other is like gas, prefigured every like American Eagle purchase that one can make like years at a time. Like that bag exists. That's just sold to you in some shitty, store inside of a mall.
Yep. Yep.
100%.
Yep.
So with the lose thing, you think it's not real, Kaya? You think he never had this
Well, I
man
think
signed off?
no, I think that I mean, I think the breakup is real, but I think the encounter at this cafe or bar is various versions of what could have happened had they had that final meeting. I think that he would see that he sees that sort of potential final meeting as closure. Like he knows the relationship is over, but I don't think he got the in-person closure that he would have wanted.
Do you think he's then projecting her hate towards him?
I don't know that it's hate so much as just like she's over it. Like I think the analogy of moving to a new neighborhood is a pretty good analogy of just like, this doesn't mean there was anything intrinsically wrong with the old neighborhood. It was just time to move to a new one, to move on.
Moving to Culp's neighborhood, if you will.
Yeah.
I think it says something like that, in fact. Oh, following up on another point from last week on page 210, towards the bottom it says thigh, thigh, thigh. Oh, is he talking about someone in particular? It doesn't matter. Thigh, thigh, thigh. Think of it. Lose. Ruse I never reached. Susu's I only saw. Through the slit of her skin like a parted drape. Martha's are now as flooded as, flooded as a river. I don't want to pronounce that either. Um, Susu, he only saw, makes me think he also did not have an affair with her, have a love thing with
Got
her.
it.
That was
Got
that
it.
That just stood out because we had just talked about it. It maybe
Hmm.
was like a little bit too much on the page, but
Little covet from afar situation.
yeah, I've got you guys aren't watching this or listening. There's like my cat is desperate for attention, so he is sleeping on my lap as we do this and kneading and clawing my stomach. So if you hear any weird purring or yelps, it's because he's a little needy. Wants to be tunneled a lot.
He wants to be tunneled. Oh yeah, there's the shout out to the Finger Lakes.
Yep, the Finger Lakes show up in here on page 206. They're shadowed in the back. But I couldn't figure out, I forget where it, but it makes it reference to like where you could figure out which one that they is their love affair. Which if the final thing isn't true, is that love affair true too? I mean, you can fall into like one of the problems with the like it's all a dream or it's all like a projection is that then nothing matters. You can just be like, they never had a love affair, they never went to the Finger Lakes, they never had a breakup. None of these things are real. It's just an invention. And like that goes all the way down, becomes like meaningless or makes everything just sloppy. But but except in the sense that like whatever it does make is the projection of the person's mind, so it still creates the consciousness of the character within the book, sure, but otherwise it does start to feel like you could just go on and on and on and on and on, and you could dig and dig and dig and never get to the bottom, never get to what really happened. You just dig endlessly trying to figure out if any of it's real. Is there ever a way out?
Is there even a China's vagina?
I don't know, man. I don't That's always one of those dumb things that you do in like elementary school where you're like, you can't dig a hole to China because if you started here, the opposite side of the globe is in this ocean.
No one tried hard enough. The last thing I want to say is it feels like sort of similar to what Brian said of the tone of Kohler being a little different in this section. It seems that Gas is having a lot more fun with the typography and sort of the images and the graphics, like the upside down, round and round non-limerick or the poem. Um, Seems to really be feeling himself on the typography on this one.
I was gonna bring this up as a joke, which I'll still make, but the section and going back to that because it's open to it of Herschel editing him, that gives a whole
Mhm.
paragraph on the edits that's pretty funny, and then it actually has a story. Like it has a separate little story that stands out because it's about going on a vacation with his parents. Like that doesn't tie into anything else here, but it's almost like the edited version of something. And that story is one in which like there's a little violence and discomfort, a quarrel between his mom and his dad, setting kind of maybe the stage for his ideas of quarrels. And it's about her misplacing her wedding rings, which I did very recently and lost my ring for a significant period of time and found it mislaid in the luggage, which is where she finds her rings as well. So I feel seen in a weird way from this book.
Yep.
That moment I spent hours and then opened up my bag and was like, oh, it's sitting right on top. There it
The
is.
same thing happened to me. Well, a very similar thing happened to me in one of our moves. Uh, I got blamed that I lost like three pieces of really important jewelry, like a wedding ring and a ring that a grandmother had given my wife and something else. I'm like, I didn't lose it. I don't know what happened. And she's like, well, it was here and now it's not. And it was in a little bag in her suitcase. About like a month later, right? Like, well, you've got to figure out how to replace like two of these are absolutely priceless and irreplaceable. So you can just live with that. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I did. Yeah, it's in your bag.
This is the quarrel. This is the quarrel that can spin out into big history.
So what I'm hearing and what makes me hopeful moving forward for the next week and the section afterward is that through William Gass's The Tunnel, I'm going to learn what the fuck is behind the closet smell.
Yeah.
That should have been the ending, man.
It'll be laid bare real soon.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
amazing.
here, I'll give I guess in this, and I just stumbled on this. This will be my line of the week, and I'll provide it here. Um, Appalling piece of paper, Herschel says, pointing to one of the shameful suggestion, ugly allegation. What's going on? Here I am, an historian of my own evil, and I don't know what's going on. The rings my mother didn't lose, remember? I'll stop there.
Oh man, where is
An
mine?
historian, a historian of my own evil.
Of my own evil.
I've got mine real quick because I want you to take it. You never tire of talking, do you?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yep.
Well, mine is
Yep.
on page 149 at the bottom, and it is simply, but how do you speak to a ghost if you're not an Elizabethan?
Hmm,
That is
good
great.
question.
That is
Good
solid.
question.
So next week we're going to do Mad Meg, which goes from page 214 to 282, long section, but also seemingly pretty important one. They're all important. This book is great. Everything is so well crafted and put together that there's not really, any reason to say anything else. So till then, you can always rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can find us on YouTube where you can subscribe, like us, so on and so forth. I got no final thoughts. Anyone else? A nun from Nantucket.
Yep. Wasn't that ring that you lost? Was it like a C ring?